Welcome. I'm Ashley Stahl. I'm a counterterrorism professional turned career coach, and now I'm a spokesperson over at SoFi. And I'm so excited to just bring Ryan Serhant here onto the line. Not only is his book available now for pre-order, Big Money Energy, but you probably recognize him as a real estate broker, best-selling author, producer, star of Bravo's two-time Emmy-nominated reality TV series Million Dollar Listing New York, and its spin-off, Sell It Like Serhant. So Ryan, I know you have your team, the Serhant team in New York. I know that you guys have been ranked #1 sales team consistently, and obviously you're the perfect person for me to ask about all the sales tips. And we're just so excited to get your insight. So thanks again for bearing with us and getting on here on the line.
No problem. I just have to say though that I think I have to work on the beginning of my bio because I want someone to introduce me as a ex-counterterrorism professional.
You know, you got to up your game.
Like it's just not fair. Like your intro to yourself is a couple sentences and they're insane and awesome. And then you're like, and I've got this aged broker, the salesperson. This definitely has never protected the United States from terrorism. Definitely
you know, everybody has their own glitz and glam. There was a certain, glam, I guess, to tracking terrorists for a while.
Yeah.
And, you've got a certain glam on Million Dollar Listing. And I'm just so excited for you. Congratulations on your book, being out for pre-order. I know that it's like
Thanks.
a huge process. And I'm curious, have you always wanted to write a book? Has that been something that is on your mind?
I've always wanted to do more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I think I have that disease. And I remember we talked about that when I spoke. There was kind of a Q&A we did for people who are SoFi members in New York City. I think it was last year. I am not okay with just being okay. Like I always want to do more. I don't want to do more stupid things, right? Or things that aren't going to benefit me, but I want to do more things. And so, I wrote one book that came out a year and a half ago and it did really well. And so it's like, okay, well, I've got more to say. So let's do another one.
Yeah.
And between the courses and the shows and we're doing a lot of different things, which are exciting. And I don't know, life is too short. Like even just, Corona's really shown us that you can touch a doorknob, get sick, and everything can disappear in a moment's notice. So we have to make the most of every day that we have, where we're healthy, where we can make something happen, where the only person we can blame is ourselves. So, that's why I'm writing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel like there's this dynamic people can have where it's like fear of change versus being miserable where they are. And I think sometimes people tend to not make a change until they're so miserable that they have to go do what they really want to do. And it sounds like lukewarm is not even going to work for you. You keep kind of pursuing your goals. Did you always want to do something on television or with sales? Where was your heart as a kid?
Well, I definitely didn't want to do anything with sales. Sales came much, much later. But from when I was a little kid, my parents made me play every single sport known to man. None of them worked. I was terrible at all of them. And the only thing I liked doing was theater. I liked playing dress up. I liked making little movies with my brother. And my little brother starred in every little movie. My mom was a director of photography and my little brother died in all of them. Very much I'd watch Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and Sylvester Stallone movies. And I would go and create my own. So they were very violent, which is just funny. And so I went to school for theater though. It was the one thing I always liked. I liked playing dress up. And I did it.
I love how much you just own it with that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I also had very, very low self-confidence and no self-esteem. And I went to schools that were very big into sports. And when you're a guy and you are, riddled with acne and you're overweight and, you're the one guy that doesn't have girlfriends and you can't throw a ball to save your life. High school and junior high is really tough. And theater was the one place where I felt safe and where I didn't have to be myself. I could be other people. Because I didn't like being myself, if I'm just being totally honest. So, then I went to college and did the same thing. College was a little bit nicer to me than high school. And then I gave myself 2 years in New York. I said, I want to try to get onto Broadway. I want to try to get into movies. It's the one thing that I know that I actually really like doing. Otherwise I'm going to take the LSAT and go to law school which I did. I did take it, by the way, and I totally bombed it. So law school wasn't going to work for me. And so I gave myself 2 years because I had 2 years of savings.
Mhm.
And I ran through those savings really, really quickly, and then ran out of money and became a real estate agent.
Wow. And, I find that so many people right now in COVID are kind of facing like huge changes in the industry they're in or whatever they're doing. And it sounds like for you, when certain things didn't work, you kind of kept pursuing. What belief do you have about figuring out what you're meant to do or figuring out where you belong? Because it sounds like you were pretty courageous and willing to kind of course correct and shape shift until you figured out what's working for you.
Yeah, I when I came to New York City and I was trying to be an actor, and I lived in a one-bedroom apartment on 66th Street that we turned into 3 bedrooms.
Wow.
I met a lot of actors and I worked with a lot of them. And then the next thing I know, they'd be, moving home to Oklahoma or moving back to Colorado or moving back to Texas and say, what happened? We just did the show together. It was so cool. And like, it's just not working for me. I don't know. I just moved home. And then they just like in a split minute, because one audition went bad or because they had a bad month or because they felt nervous about money, all their dreams they throw out the window. And for me, yes, I wanted to be an actor, and that's why I came to New York City, but I wanted to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I knew. I wanted a good quality of life. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to figure out how I could leave a legacy in the world. Like, I wanted the most for myself I could possibly obtain. And if that's going to be through acting, great. Like, first choice. But if it's going to be through something else, then I'm going to make that happen too. But I'm not going to know until I try. So that's why I tried the acting as hard as I could. And I worked harder at trying to be an actor in New York than I think a lot of people work at their regular job. Like, I was up at 5 a.m. submitting headshots and resumes. I was standing in Actors Equity audition lines starting at 6 a.m. when they'd open in Times Square. I was in different acting classes, running around, trying to network all day, every day. Because my dad told me, actually, when I first moved to the city in my little 3-bedroom thing, both of my attorneys were both of my roommates were paralegals for big lawyers. And he said, if I'm going to let you stay in New York City with no job, then you have to work harder than both of these guys. One worked for the district attorney, one worked for Cadwalader, Wickersham and Taft. So their hours were obscene. And so that's what I made sure I did. And it translated really well into real estate, because when I got my real estate license, my work ethic was still there. And that's all it really took, right? It took a really, really strong work ethic and the ability to memorize information and the ability to improvise with different people all day, every day. And that's exactly what acting is.
Yeah. It sounds like also, what a reminder that the skills you cultivate from the past can be threaded into your future. I think so many people have a limited mindset around career pivots where they think like, I don't have experience or I need something, when really and I'm reading right now, the research shows that in the future of work, soft skills are what really matters the most, because robots are going to replace so many hard skills. And when you take a look at your work ethic, it's irreplaceable. So appreciate that. And I'm curious with sales, is there something now with where you're at that when you meet somebody, you think to themselves like, oh, they have what it takes to be an incredible salesperson, or even someone that you think like, I need him on my team and he might be doing something, or she might be doing something completely different?
Yeah, it's 2 things. The first is their ability to come up and say hi to me without me having to say hi to them first. You can't be afraid of strangers. You got to be able to, even on your worst day, step out into the street, say hi to someone that you don't know. Yeah. Which is, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, no.
People walk into crowds and they don't want to talk to anybody. Everyone these days, if you walk down the street in New York or anywhere, all people do is they walk around like this on their phone. Like, if you look up and see a human, you're like, why are you outside of my phone where it's safe?
Yep.
So people have a hard time now making that contact, and you have to. And the second is just follow up. Some of the best agents I've ever hired, I found at one was selling T-shirts, followed up with me nonstop to create T-shirts.
Isn't there a line where they sometimes will get annoying or they'll burn a bridge? Like for me, I write for Forbes and I have my podcast. I get pitches every day. And there's like a sweet spot, Ryan, where I'm like, oh, you followed up one too many times and now I actually don't want to work with you.
Yep.
So you have to. People have.
Yeah, but the big difference is you have to follow up with value. So you
Yeah.
have to give. You can never ask. So the follow up that doesn't work, the follow up that's annoying, that I get, that I'm like, ugh,
Ugh.
is when people are like, hey, did you get my email?
Yeah.
Like, hey, just following up with you again because I know you told everybody to follow up with you. Or, hey, do you still want to do that thing that you don't want to do? Like, that is not worth it. Like,
Yeah.
I've done deals with clients where I followed up for 7 years.
Wow.
Okay? But my follow up hasn't been every day. It's been once a month, once every other month, maybe twice in 1 week, just because there's information. And I
Mhm.
follow up with value, knowing that I have no intention of having them reply to me. But I'm
Mm.
doing it because one day I want to be there when they make that decision to buy or sell real estate. And
Yeah.
so I send them comp reports. I send them cool sales. I send them information that they might find interesting, events, little things. And I know that, and listen, for 7 years, that guy deleted my emails, right? But then that one time,
Yeah.
it was around Christmas 2017, and he hadn't responded to me since 2010. He wrote back to one of my emails and said, hey, Ryan, good to hear from you. Sorry, I haven't responded in a while. Been a little busy.
Mm. Oh,
And 2 months later, he bought an apartment for $16 million.
great.
So if I told that story from that part, you'd say, well, of course, that's why you follow up, because he's a rich bird, blah, 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 blah. Had no idea, right? So you got to follow up with value, because you never know. And a lot of times when I follow up with people with value and I give, they will forward the email that I sent to other people. And those people will contact me and say, hey, my friend Dave sent me this email that you sent him. I'm actually looking for a 2-bedroom in Chelsea. Can you call me and talk about the thing you sent him? So you don't know, right?
Mhm.
Everyone you talk to knows other people. So you can never burn bridges, and you always have to give, and you will receive. Never ask.
Beautiful. And I think sometimes when it comes to giving, one of the biggest challenges is somebody burning out. And I know that for you, you work hard and you
Yeah.
also have a family. And I'm sure that no matter how much you crave success in your career, your finances, whatever, there's also the other side of your personal life. How do you balance that sweet spot of being on and also taking care of yourself?
So the gym is very important to me. And I work out every morning, first thing in the morning, and I don't really check my email or anything. I work out super early, so most people don't email me at that time. And I just listen to music and work out. I used to, prior to COVID, worked out with a group of guys every morning. And I miss them dearly. So I've just been working out by myself ever since, but that's important to me, right? Keeps me healthy. I have a food regimen. I fast most of the time. I work out. I eat from 2 to 8. I was doing 12 to 6, but now I do 2 to 8, and it's made a huge difference. So you have to do change all the time, which is kind of my bigger answer to your question, which is, uh, I've been in ruts and I felt burnt out a lot in my career over the last 12 years. And that's only because I didn't force change onto
Mm,
myself. If
mm,
I just wake up every day and do the same thing every day and show apartments, turn on lights, talk to sellers who are angry and buyers who think things are too expensive, and then hang up the phone and then go home, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again, I will lose my mind. So
mm.
you have to be the change that you want in your own life. There's like that saying, right? Be the change you see in the world. Like,
Yeah.
but make it more personal. Be the change you see in your own life. Like, what do you want for your life? Make changes to make it happen. So every year I do things differently.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to, remove the TV and the books and all the stuff that, people are going to point to and say, well, you have that, that makes you different. Well, I don't have that. I don't have that. Simply from sales. I'm a real estate agent in New York City. Every year I make a concerted change, right? And a concerted effort to go to a different neighborhood I've never sold in before, where I have no backup.
Mm,
So last year I went to Long Island City, Queens.
mm.
Okay. And I told myself, I put up on my little board, I'm going to be the number one agent in Long Island City, Queens. And there is some stiff fucking competition in Long Island City.
Yeah.
There's some brokers there that keep that place on lockdown. Same thing with Brooklyn. And I know, we've spoken about that. So, and since I went in there and I have a relentless work ethic and I call everyone and talk to everybody, I now have 3 projects there and a lot of listings, and I've built my little team there, and we are on our way. We're not there yet, but we are on our way. And that keeps me going. We've got new neighborhoods, new things, new businesses all the time because we can. Like,
Mm,
it's 2020, and I know the year is crazy, and there's so much negativity out there, and there's a lot of negativity that is important to listen to, and there's a lot going on that I know that can be very distracting from your own self, and so I think it's important to listen to everything that's happening right now and to be a bit selfless,
yeah,
right? And to remove ego and just listen, but at the same time, it's survival of the fittest,
yeah,
right? Like, as the months go by, we all know what's going to happen, right? In September, you're still going to have to pay rent.
yeah.
Like, in October, you're still going to have to pay your bills. And so you got to figure it out. You got to take care of yourself. So you got to use all the time you can every day. And I use what I call a 1,000-minute rule, but you got to use all those minutes you get every day to make the best of it, right? And to put yourself on a path forward.
Yeah, yeah, and I love your motivation, and I know that right now so many people are sitting at home and they're reflecting, and maybe they're wanting to make a change, maybe they want to start a side hustle, start a business, and I know that that's your sweet spot with all that you're creating. And I find that when I think about business, for me as a businesswoman, I just think, okay, it's just having something great and having leads that want it. And so
Yeah.
I'm curious for anybody that wants to get started and really hone their sales. I know from talking to you before, you talked about the changes in the world that are coming. So I would love your feedback on just what you see coming with real estate, the future of work, and also just some tips for people to get started.
Yeah, I think we just did a video actually on my YouTube
Oh,
page.
perfect.
I guess, well, we didn't just, I mean, maybe a month and a half ago, right when I came back from New Hampshire, because we were quarantined in New Hampshire at the beginning of this whole thing, because we thought New York City was going to like close the bridges and tunnels. Like, that was a real concern. Police were talking about it as a thing. And so we just said, you know what, let's go to a lake in the middle of the woods and let's see what happens. I've seen way too many movies
Yeah.
to have to survive. So, so we went out there. When it came back, we made a video called Just Start, which was just kind of running through the empty New York City, which was a surreal experience, but talking about how now is the absolute best time to start anything, to start any business, right? Like, I got into this business the day Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. And, and this time reminds me of that, right? The stock market is in massive flux. It's up 1,000 points and then it's down 2,000 points. It's everywhere. People are afraid. There's no answers anywhere. No one has any idea what's going on. Everyone feels like they're in limbo. And so let everybody else sit and be nervous and sit on the couch. You need to go out and just start and actually pay attention to what you want to do. So if you've always wanted to get into sales, it's taking a course on sales and going out and seeing what jobs are actually still hiring, right? If you've always wanted to write a book, it's sitting down and actually writing it. Like, if you've always wanted to play the piano, you go on YouTube how to play piano and figure it out. Like, it's all there, right? Procrastination, assassination is a real thing. And for, kind of getting into kind of any business at the moment, or for, I guess, your question's what, regarding sales in general, you mean?
Yeah, and by the way, I see some new people are popping on now. So those of you who are popping on, we're here with Ryan Serhant, who's real estate broker, reality TV series, two-time Emmy nominated, $1 Million Listing New York. And we're asking him all about sales, and we're about to get into some sales tips and take live questions. But Ryan, curious about how you think somebody who's kind of getting into the mindset right now with COVID, because they've maybe spent a few weeks too many home and they're starting to get even more ideas, and maybe they want to nail one in, really pursue it as a side hustle or a full-time business. And obviously sales is really half of the equation in a business, otherwise having a good product. So what would you recommend for somebody to get started with in honing their sales skills?
So, I mean, in honing your sales skills, the most important thing that you need to do is just to listen. You'd be surprised how many people are such bad listeners. I mean, there's like a whole chapter of my, book that's about it, but, you need to ask questions and be somebody who it's part of your muscle memory to ask as many questions as you can when you're with anybody, and just listen to them, because there's nothing that people like more, especially buyers of any product or just buyers of you, than hearing themselves talk. Right? Just like babies. Sometimes babies just cry to hear their own cries because it comforts them and it makes them feel better. when we got pregnant and my wife was like, how are you going to handle a baby screaming all day long? How are you going to get any business done? I'm like, I've been dealing with screaming babies all the time. They're just dressed up as 40-year-old men who live in New York City.
Yeah,
So I will be totally fine. This baby is just much easier. That guy, I can't pick that guy up. He's huge.
Yeah.
Practice your skills at listening. The most important thing is to really determine what your sphere of influence is. So what is your network, right? People talk about networking all the time, which is fine. And there's a lot of things that you can do to network and to grow your network. There's a lot of things you can do to become community leaders. There's things you can do on Facebook and Instagram just to grow that network at all times. But always start with who your warm leads are. Who do you know right now? Who are the contacts in your phone? Scroll through, categorize them, figure out who can be kind of in that top circle for you, right? So if you look at that kind of sphere of influence, the ones on the outside that you would touch first, okay, if it's a ball, are the most important to you because you can touch them right away, right? So who is out there, and write those names down. So maybe that's your parents. Maybe that's your English professor, because they knew a lot of people. Maybe it's that boss you had from that summer job who knew a lot of people in your town too. Who are those people that you're going to really stay on top of because you're going to keep your eye on the ball? And then as you go inside the ball, right, who's that second layer that make up that ball? And who's that third layer and that fourth layer? And really write them all down and figure it out, because those are the people that are going to deliver you business off the bat. Because those are warm leads. Those are people who know you. They've worked with you somewhere, or they've seen you in school, or they're your friends, or they're the parents of your girlfriend, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just write everybody down. That list is your first target market. Right? Your target market is people you know at the beginning of any sales business, because they're going to be advocates for you. Like that's what a referral business is. You're creating people who are your advocates, who are then free advertising. Because if anybody ever asks them, hey, do you know a tire salesman? They're going to say, oh yeah, Jim, he follows up with me all the time. He worked for me, in my business in insurance. Yeah. Jim sells tires and he loves it. Apparently. He's like really obsessed with it. He makes these videos all the time. He loves tires and rubber, like I'm just making this up, but like whatever, it doesn't matter. So use that sphere of influence and get working on it right now. It amazes me how often people don't build out that sphere and just assume that people they know are going to be advocates for them. And then they get really pissed off when their friend or their ex-boss or somebody buys something through someone else. They're like, oh, how come they didn't call me? I'm like, did you tell them? Did you tell them this is what you did? Like, well, they follow me on Instagram. Did you use the phone? Did you tell them? Like, do you know how communication works?
Yeah.
Are you a listener? So I don't know, like we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours.
I'm so into it, because I'm somebody in a position a lot, I think like you, where I get a lot of inbound requests, and it's really helpful to hear kind of how to be received and how to be effective. I know for a lot of people, one thing that was coming up for me as I was listening to you talk about your sphere of influence is some people don't want to paint over their friendships with some sort of agenda, is the story they're telling themselves in their head, that, that this is their sphere of influence. Suddenly they go from their friends that they have a barbecue with to a sphere of influence, and they have an ask and a request. And while I understand that networking is giving, and that the more people in your network, the more you can support people around you, I think for a lot of people, this idea of networking can feel like, oh, now I'm turning these people into people that are supposed to help me in my business. So do you have any sales tips for people who want to tap into their sphere of influence, but also come in kind of soft, if that's possible, or is there such a thing?
Yeah, for sure. I come in soft. It's a weird way to phrase it, but I don't do the hard sell with anybody ever. I don't think it works. And I think the return on investment from the hard sell is so low. You risk burning relationships more than you'll ever get sales from it. So for me, it's all about mindset. And I don't want to be corny about it, but it is about mindset. Like, I honestly believe that I am the best real estate agent in New York. Like, I believe that. I don't think I'm the best real estate agent in Chicago. That's why I have good referral relationships in Chicago. But if you're coming to New York City and you want to buy or sell a property, I think I'm the best. Whether you're my best friend, my mom, a guy I just met on the street, I think I will do the best job. Okay. Yeah. And I haven't been doing this for 20, 30, or 40 years. I've been doing this for 12. I sold my first apartment, 11 years ago. And if you don't want to work with me, it's fine. There's a lot of, you can do whatever you want, but I feel bad for you. Like, I feel like, I think someone else is going to screw you over because I think there's a lot of shady people out there, and I want to give you the best service because I
Yeah.
care about you.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to believe that in your core. If you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. If
Yeah.
you think, but I'm young and I'm just too new at this and I'm not really good, but I don't know why they didn't want to use me. Like, bro, you just said why they don't want to use you, and it seeps in your pores. Like, you ooze desperation. That's I don't want to pitch anything right now, but like my second book, Big Money Energy, and
Yes, I want to ask about that.
if you go to bigmoneyenergy.com, like that's what I've always called that confidence when you have no confidence. Right? How do you walk into a room and have the confidence for people to be able to look at you and say, I want to work with that person, and you only just started doing that thing yesterday. That is a learned trait that you can build, right? It's a muscle memory that you can develop. That I honestly believe, because I did it. Like, I was hand modeling for AT&T, holding cell phones and going straight into showings to rent and sell apartments, because at the time, hand modeling paid me way more than any of the potential deals that I was working on. But I walked into those appointments like I've been doing it forever. Like I already had the money in my pocket, right? Yeah, it's all about owning it. And it's all about that mindset. So that when you're in a group of friends, right, or you're quote unquote networking, you're not trying to close, you're not trying to network, you're not asking or pushing yourself on people. You don't be annoying. Just always remember that people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends.
Great.
That line, okay, is my business plan. That's my business plan. Like, I got a poker game tonight with 5 of my biggest clients. I didn't meet them as friends. They're friends now, but I met them all as clients, and they're great. They're great, huge clients. And they all are awesome at poker. And I'm going to get my ass kicked tonight, and it's going to suck, and I'm going to lose money. But guess what? We're buddies, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I know that they like shopping, right? And they like shopping with friends. So like, it's always, especially in sales, people buy stuff anyway.
Yeah.
The whole point of being a good salesperson is to have them buy it with you. So don't let them buy it online. Don't let them buy it with somebody else. Make sure they buy it with you, because they're going to trust you. And they're going to trust you because when you talk to them, you ask them questions and they listened. And it all goes back to that, which is all how, like, my whole life, going from trying to be an actor to being a real estate agent, all converged together, because every acting class you ever take, whether it was when I was in London studying at the Globe, or whether I was in Stella Adler in the city or in college, like, always starts with breathing and listening. That's it. The best actors breathe and listen. Like, if you listen to any director or take any of those master classes, it always comes down to that. And selling is the same thing.
Beautiful. And I remember I had a mentor who used to tell me, Ashley, needy is creepy. And I know.
It is. It's weird.
And so anybody who's starting a side hustle, it's like, it's so important that they kind of remember not to just, because I think there's this thought of like, quit your job and just start your thing. And sometimes it's so much healthier to keep yourself out of needy desperation if you have to pay your bills and you need the client, not a good place to start your business from. So keep maybe having some sort of part-time thing or something while you're building something else.
I would just say, sorry, before
talk to me.
Yeah, no, I would just say, to that point though, everyone's personalities are very different. And I'm the type of person, and I know this in myself, had I had a part-time job in 2008, I would not be where I am today, because my back wouldn't have been up against a wall. But I hesitate when I tell people these things, because I get nervous, because some people, they don't have this, they don't have it inside themselves to be able to drop everything to go make something happen. And then they put themselves in a really dangerous, scary position. So like, you got to know the type of person you are. And I know when my back is up against a wall, I'm going to be freaked out. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to think my life is coming to an end, probably cry, right? Everything's over. But I know that I will come out of it, and I'll come out of it stronger, because there's no other way. I swear to you, I will never drown. I will always figure out how to swim, even if it's the choppiest of waters. So you got to know that about yourself. So while, yes, if you got to pay bills, don't do anything stupid. Okay. But sometimes you got to put your back up against a financial wall to push yourself to do things that you never thought possible.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the only thing we both have in common with a cockroach, Ryan, is we will not die.
Yeah,
Fires will burn and
exactly.
we
And
will
they
be
move and they're
right.
so quick and they scurry everywhere. And you're like,
Okay,
God damn
maybe
it.
we actually have a lot in common with them. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Bounce
Yeah,
around.
yeah, and you talk a little bit about, I remember we had an earlier conversation and you said predict the future the best you can. And I would love to hear what that means for you, because that to me says a lot about your ability to sell. So what do you mean for everybody with predict the future the best you can?
Yeah, it's something my dad says all the time, right? Because like when I first got into the business, it was 2008, 2009. And people were very afraid,
Hmm.
right? People were very, very afraid. And so I would call my parents, and I call my parents every Sunday. I try to talk to them as much as I can, but I definitely call them Sundays the same way I always have since school, because I give them my weekly roundup check-in. It's just weird if I don't. I tell them what happened during the week. I think they care less now. They're like, okay, Ryan, we get it. You went to work on Tuesday. And I'm like, no, but it's important to talk about. And so they, and I would say, but everyone's too afraid. Everyone's too afraid. Everyone's too afraid. I'd say, yeah, but what are they really afraid about? Losing their job? Or are they afraid that they're going to die? Like what's the real fear? Because when you lead with fear, okay, if you're afraid of tomorrow, then tomorrow you're going to wake up afraid, which means you're predicting that tomorrow is going to be a pretty scary day.
Hmm.
And when you predict the future with fear, the future doesn't look so bright.
Yeah.
And if you do that day in and day out, of course you're going to have a bad year,
Hmm.
because you predicted it and you put it out there for yourself. So if you say, hey, there's a lot of shit going on right now, things
Hmm.
are pretty bad. Tomorrow's going to be the greatest day in the world. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out. And you're going to wake up pumped. Maybe you're going to wake up half an hour early. And you're going to have that mindset set up where no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. And you're going to make it work. I promise you, you're going to look back on that year and you're going to say, it's kind of weird, but that wasn't that bad. That year was actually pretty good,
Yeah.
because you made it so. So when you predict the future, if you think the future isn't going to be bright, it's not going to be bright,
Mm.
because you made it so.
I had a mentor at one point. She said, look, you're picking everything you believe. You can't guarantee the future. You can't predict it. It's all made up anyway. Everything you think is made up until it's proven true. And so you
Yeah.
might as well pick things that in your head that make you win and that feel good, because
Yeah.
the negative ones are just as false potentially. So I love that mindset. And we have a question that came in for you. He asked, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the future of real estate based on the impact of COVID-19 and or prop tech?
So very simply, um, uh, what we've been going through is something like a $6 trillion PR campaign for the value of residential real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there has never been another moment in time when everyone has really realized the value of a good home, and you see it everywhere. New York City is a little slow on the uptick right now because we are still under lockdown, but everywhere else, people are fleeing to new homes,
Mm-hmm.
right? New loan applications are the highest they've been all year right now, because what better way to show someone the value of a good home than by locking them in their current crappy one? Like,
Mm.
right? Out of sight, out of mind. How often, you come home to a 1-bedroom apartment every day, and you come home from work and you're like, dude, this place sucks. But you wake up and you go to work. Saturday, you got a thing. Sunday, you're running around. 2 years go by. I find finally I got to make a choice. I'm going to lock you in that 1-bedroom and you can't leave for 3 months. You are going to start really thinking about that next apartment or that next home. So I think residential real estate comes out of this
Mhm.
way stronger than anyone thinks.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be crazy. And with regards to prop tech, I don't think that the world is going to shift to a model where everyone buys things over Zoom,
Mhm.
or does things over Zoom. What I think it does, though, is I think it's going to make business happen faster.
Mm.
Right? It's going to make it happen faster. Like, just realistically. Okay, as an example, in my business, I show properties for a living. Oftentimes we have clients who don't live here, or even if they do, they're just busy, and they say, hey, I want to come see it on Monday, but I'm too busy that day, or my flight got canceled. All right, I'll see it on Sunday. A whole week has now just been lost because of that person's schedule and their inability to get down to West 17th Street. Now, that will never, ever, ever be an issue, because I'll say, no problem. I'll Zoom you at 2. Cool. I'll be there and I'll do a walkthrough with you. And it is Easy, easy, easy. And if they like it, Sunday's showing will be that second showing they would have done anyway. So we'll save a lot of time, right? I think this is going to save a lot of time in commutes. I'll do 10 meetings a day over Zoom from my office instead of 5, because I got to factor in the commute and the traffic and the subway and the craziness all day long.
Yeah.
And I think we're also going to see a lot with regards to voice. I think in urban areas, you're going to see kind of touchless elevators. So you'll see voice activated elevators. I think you'll see voice activated doors or motion censored doors. So I think you'll see a lot of things that don't involve touch start to come into the home and come into apartment buildings and condo buildings in a way that could have been great in February or January, but wasn't worth the expense. Now, I think it's important. And I think a lot of houses are going to be built with home offices, and a lot of apartment buildings are going to be built with home office amenities in a way that we never, ever would have seen before.
Really helpful to hear. And also talk to me a little bit about, and just my final 2 questions before we let you go. And those of you who are just tuning in, Ryan's giving us amazing tips on sales. You should check out his book, Big Money Energy, available for pre-order now, which is really exciting. I want to ask you about becoming a community leader. You talked a little bit to me before we were on this live, just about Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these different tools to kind of position yourself as a leader in the community. What can you recommend for somebody who's starting that side hustle or that business, or even wanting to take their business to the next level in terms of becoming a community leader?
Yeah, so I think that people get very nervous when they hear, so I don't know if you can hear that. My office is in Soho on Broadway, and I think there's something going on outside right now. There's been protests in the city.
Oh, wow.
So it's really loud. What was I saying? I was saying community leader. So
yeah.
The word leader makes people nervous because a lot of people don't view themselves as leaders. Okay, but the word community is fine. Like, sure, I live in a community. I'm a community of artists, salespeople, what have you. And so you have to remove the stigma of the word leader and kind of the overwhelming feeling you get when you hear that word leader, and just remind yourself that a community leader is just someone that brings other people together. If you've ever had a dinner party, or ever had anybody come over to your house to watch the Oscars, or ever met everyone for a picnic, you are a community leader that day. That's really what it is. And you can use social for it now to develop new communities and network from your couch. So like if you are, if you want to meet new people, you can go on Facebook and you can create a community group, okay, a membership page, let's say for, I don't know, pencils, like anything, like people who love pencils in Boston. Like that could be your thing. And maybe you have an obsession with number 2 pencils, but there's a whole different array of pencils and colored pencils and everything. And people don't use pencils enough. And so you're trying to keep the pencil army going. Maybe that's your thing, right? And all the different erasers, and it's a whole thing for you. Maybe that's an obsession you have. Now you're going to create that page. You're going to fill it with cool info, different links. Maybe you're going to link up other pencil lovers. Okay. And you're going to send an e-blast out to everybody you know that you've started a new page about something that you really have a dire passion for. And maybe some of you guys know, but it's my love of the number 2 pencil. Okay. I don't care if 2 people, 8 people, 20 people join. People will also forward it to other people. And now slowly you're building a little community group of people who have something in common with you, however awkward and weird it might be. And those are new people to build up in your network that'll share it to other people who could share it to other people who could share it to other people. Because like I said, no one likes being sold, but everyone loves shopping with friends. And if you're friends with somebody because of something you have in common, hold on, let's say, sorry, can you be quiet, please? Thank you. Sorry, I'm in an office.
You got the protest, you got the sirens. We're going to keep going because that's what the best cockroaches we've already determined.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on behind me right now. Yeah, but it's, then you are then a community leader because you're bringing people together.
Yeah, really powerful. And I saw a couple of statistics as we're closing out here. I saw Zapier, the integration software. They did a study that said that 65% of people say they're more productive now working from home, and nearly 1/3 say that non-essential meetings have been pared down to emails. So what you're saying here makes sense. Do you have any future predictions for Workspaces for people who are listening now, and maybe they're kind of loving working from home and they want more of that? What do you see in the future with that?
Yeah, I think the toughest business that's going to come out of this is office space. I think every industry was just forced to figure out how to stay productive and how to stay profitable without an office. And I think a lot of industries figured it out. And so office space can be really expensive. And so I don't think office space goes away, but maybe it means that office space becomes a lot more efficient. And instead of 100 tenants in your building, you're just going to end up having 200 because you're going to have to split up every floor, things like that. So I think landlords are going to figure it out, and they're going to figure it out with their lenders. I think that there's going to be a period maybe of givebacks where lenders are going to have to take buildings back because the performers now no longer make sense because people just aren't willing to pay those kind of per foots for those rents. But if you're somebody who now likes working from home, I see a lot of clients who've been, talking to their managers or their superiors and saying, hey, this actually really works for me. And I've been more productive working from home than ever before because my commute into the city or what have you was an hour and a half or 2 hours. Let's structure something where I can keep doing this. Or I'll come into the office every Monday because I know Mondays are our big client days, but Tuesday through Friday, I'll work from home and I hit everything anyway. I hit all my deadlines, all my quotas and everything. Let's see how this could work. Now, what's going to happen though with that is it's going to have a direct correlation to pay. If you're not coming to the office and I can't see you every day, am I going to pay you the same amount? I don't know. I think every industry is going to be different. Every boss is going to be different. But I think there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to be more than willing to allow people to work from home because it's also going to be a cost savings, right? So if you're negotiating this, right, it's always about comps, okay? So if you're negotiating to maybe not have to ever go back to the office again, know what your space was worth. So figure out what that office space was worth at your building, and your 60 square feet is worth what? Right? What is that? 60 square feet at $60 a foot is worth what per day? That's a savings that they're now saving every day. And you compound that and you realize what they could use that space for going forward. Maybe it's a total wash and the pay doesn't change because now they're going to save so much. Net, it's better for the employer that you don't actually come in. I don't know. So, just be prepared that way. But I think the world works so differently now. My parents spend most of the year in Steamboat Springs, Colorado on a ranch. Okay. In the middle of nowhere, right? You can't see neighbors at all. Above the mountain that they're on, if you go up this massive hill, there's a house. Okay. And I was there in August. That's how I know this. I saw this young couple jogging. I was like, where are those people? And they're like, because I don't see people out here ever. They're like, oh, they live in the house up the hill.
Yeah.
I go, cool. And I went and I introduced myself and I met them and I asked them what they do. They say, they have a PR firm in New York City. It's like, oh, wow, you sold it? They're like, no, we work there every day. Like, wait a minute. This is last August. Okay. They're like, no, we work there every day. Everything's virtual. We go into we go for specific meetings once every other month. But other than that, we mountain bike, we horseback ride. And depending on daylight savings in the year, we are either 2 hours or 3 hours behind. And it's a much better lifestyle here and it's healthier and we just love it. And none of our clients know. Like, holy moly.
Yeah.
And so then when this whole thing happened, I'm like, there you go, right? And now what do you see? Bloomberg, everyone else buying up ranches and swaths of land in Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, everywhere, because you don't need to be anywhere anymore. And if you have the ability to get around, like, it's just, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, this conversation has been so insightful. I'm so appreciative of you. And I hope everybody gets your book, Big Money Energy. I feel like I'm going to be getting it because I'm feeling your big money energy through the screen. I'm
gonna get your book that you just put in yesterday.
Yeah, I just got my book out yesterday, U-Turn. I'm so excited about it. But it's crazy. A little bit of a different category, how to reconnect yourself and figure out your dream career path, but perhaps interlinks with you.
I'm going to read that and you'll see me in a year doing something totally different. I'll be like, your book screwed it up for me. Yeah, you totally changed my whole life.
People do tend to burn down their life when they're really honest with themselves and starting. So I make no promises. But is there something I haven't asked you that I should have asked you that you think would just be a really valuable piece of wisdom for everybody? And also for everybody who just joined, we had a little bit of a technical issue, I think, at the beginning, but we have all of this. Everybody's going to see the full presentation. I think the beginning of it got cut off. So everybody who's watching, if you want to catch that, it's going to be published.
It was gold. Right?
It was gold. Yeah,
you missed the first 20 minutes. It was gold.
Yeah, it was real. It actually was. You don't even have to pat your, because it was really great. What could I have asked you that I maybe forgot to or should have considered, just given where you're at and what you know about sales and what would be valuable for everybody?
All I think I want to say is 2020 was supposed to be an amazing year, and I still think it can be. I don't think 2020 is a wash. I don't think 2020 is over. right? It's almost July 1, and half the year is gone, yes, but that means we get another half the year. So
Mhm.
don't be somebody who looks at the glass half empty, right? Look at the glass fucking half full, except it's more full because you're going to make so much more out of the next 6 months than we were able to do in the first 6 months. And
Mhm.
remember that every day is another day to turn it all around. So if you're trying to start something, or if you're nervous about bills, or something's going on, or things aren't good at work, or you're trying to figure out that next job, like, you can always do it tomorrow.
Mhm.
Okay. If today's not your day, tomorrow's another day. Like, the
Mhm.
sun will come up no matter what you say, right?
Mhm.
No matter what, no matter what. And you just got to remember that for anyone who's going through something really, really, really hard. Like, I've been there, and tomorrow is another day. Just remember that.
Yeah, everything is so transient. Well, I wish everybody big money energy after this, and just thank you so much for your wisdom and for your time. And I can
Yeah.
see
Glad
why
we could do
people,
this.
yeah, me too. I can see why people like shopping with friends when it comes to you, because I want to go shopping with you now. Like, such a good time to
Just,
talk to you. So thank
no,
you.
I mean, when people do that, they end up spending way more than they want.
That's what I'm afraid
So,
of.
yeah, listen, it's like your budget's $1 million, but let's look at things up to 5. Why not? It's awesome. Let's do it.
Visualize, get excited, expand. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for being here. And everybody who's watching, make sure you catch the full recording, which we'll be posting today.